look at these symptoms. Okay, so sometimes we call these pain points, but when a program isn't working to its full potential, whether you're trying to gain an increase in various different results, a cultural change, whatever it is, we usually see these things. So I won't dwell on these because I'll expand on them when we go into the principles. But I don't know if you will be seeing any of these things in your current experiences or in the past even. So sometimes we go in and there are programs that are very complex. They're designed, months are taken. I can remember that there's a guy that was working with me on this call, actually. We went to one client and the business improvement manager was called into the meeting to explain the program, and he came with what looked like a roll of wallpaper under his arm, and he rolled the thing out across a long table and he said, this is designed for an improvement program. And of course, he understood it well, but to try and get that engagement with the rest of the workforce in something that he understood but was very complex, and it was complex, it prevents doing good practice. It gets in the way. And as I said on the early graph there, my scribbles, that green line, that number 1 line, is the line that logical implementation of hardware, a new building, building a call center, building or putting factory equipment in, you can follow that green line, but you can't do it when it involves changing people's work systems, changing their behavior, etc., which we will go into. There seems to be a lack of understanding of OD, or organizational behaviors. So we think if we have a good program, it's well laid out, it's very logical, we underestimate how human forces can take us off track. There's another one, and you may have experienced this, I know a lot of people tell me this, is we have in businesses, we have very good managers, but sometimes the senior managers forget that they need to inspire people and be visible. So often we see that as one of the symptoms where a program isn't as effective as it is, there isn't that element in it. The politics and the cultural elements, past history of other programs, those sort of things need to be taken into account when looking at a program or designing a new program. One of the things to take into account here is endless fads are something that prevents issues, creates issues. The other thing is, as well, is that an assessment of the softer side of an organization needs to be taken into account as well. A program design is too rigid. So a bit like the green line here, you can imagine a train on the tracks. You know, you can carry on. If something gets in the way on the track, you remove it. That's the mentality. But on this curved approach, you have to be prepared to take a diversion. It's more of a ship on the ocean than it is a train on the tracks, where tidal concerns will come in, storms around Cape Horn or whatever. We have to steer in other directions. So it's definitely not a straight line. So you often see programs that are too rigid. There's a lot of new tools and techniques to be put into a program, but what we see is that they're done thinking in the old way as people always did in the past. And of course, these symptoms are all overlapping and they integrate with each other. But again, we try and do new things with new tools, but we manage them in the old way. Again, it links back to that green line somewhat, is that program milestones are pushed too hard within financial budgets, and people try to do things in a financial year when there's a dynamic, which I'll talk about is one of the 10 principles, that it will never be quicker than you can make people change the way that they do things. There's another element, a symptom that we see is that when we talk to the employees, they say, well, you know, we've got a great program, but we're sort of told what to do, but we don't understand why we have to do it. And we have to do so many other things as well that, you know, we have to take priorities. So people are told what they need to do in the program, and then it doesn't stick. You know, they say yes, but for some reason they just don't do much of it. Another symptom that we see is that negative connotations are associated with resisting doing something, whereas actually the people who are resisting can give us good input into why things may not be going as well as they should go. And instead of embracing it, you know, we run programs and we really encourage issues to come out. So what we say is, it's not the program that's causing the issues are there in the business. So when something occurs while you're implementing step-by-step approaches with your program and things aren't going so well, it's because there's an issue in the business, and those issues, you know, they should be embraced. And then another symptom is that you see it's either all from the top or it's all from the bottom. And of course, a good program should have elements of everybody involved in it. So these aren't the 10 principles. These are the symptoms that we talk about in New Leaf when we you know, look at a client's program before we get involved in it. So I hope that you recognize some of these things and they ring a bell. I wrote these before the webinar. We've got different variations, and I thought, well, I better make sure I know what I'm talking about. So I then did a little bit of research, and I found that these exact thing may be using slightly different words, but these exact symptoms were also being logged by Harvard University in some of their studies, other large consultancies in their studies. So I found that it wasn't just us that saw these things, so they must be quite common.